Alright, alright. Actually, take that down. Okay. Let's see. Welcome back. Beep, bop, beep, bop. Hello and welcome to my YouTube channel. If it's your first time here, my name is Chad van Beek, and today we will be discussing exactly how long does it take to get good at something. This was a question that came into my mind a few times, especially when I start new things, and I'm one to start a lot of new things, or there's always an idea floating around in my head, and there's always a lack of execution on these ideas. I like to do the initial research, do the initial investigation, and pick up the camera, for example, or pick up a new sport. But I'm not the one for executing. So the thought was in my mind: where did this actually come from? I've done some digging, and I thought, you know what? Let's make a YouTube video about this and actually share what I found. The initial quote comes from Malcolm Gladwell, who wrote a book called Outliers, The Stories of Success. So Gladwell mentions that achievements are not necessarily only linked to your personal talent or your hard work, but it has a lot to do with your support system and those around you and what you have access to as an individual. Gladwell references neurologist Daniel Levitin, who emphasizes that 10,000 hours of practice is required to achieve the level of mastery associated with being a world-class expert in anything. In the book, he goes further and he notes that an expert is someone that is a master within their domain. He references individuals that are at the top of their game. They're pro athletes, they are top singers, violinists. They are top achievers of their domain. Gladwell elaborates on this idea by mentioning that to become a chess grandmaster, it takes roughly about 10 years. One exception was Bobby Fischer, who achieved an elite level in less time. It took him about 9 years. I asked ChatGPT, how long does it take to become proficient? And the response, well, it takes about 10,000 hours as suggested by many sources, but it can take up to 100 hours to become competent at something with focused learning. So that got me thinking, how long exactly has it taken me to develop skills and get good at specific skills? Did it take me 100 hours? Did it take me 10,000 hours? I'm not necessarily exceptional at any specific skill, but I think I've tried to learn a decent amount of skills in my lifetime. During my research for this video and trying to figure out for myself how long does it actually take to get good at things, I came across Josh Kaufman. Don't know if I'm butchering his name, I am most probably. But I came across Josh Kaufman and his book named The First 20 Hours. And in this book, he basically documents a 4-step framework of how to get good at a skill and how to actually develop a skill to a good enough competence. And his whole framework revolves around only dedicating 20 hours to developing the skill and learning a new skill. Josh implemented his framework himself, his 4-step framework. He learned the ukulele in 20 hours. He started off very basic and progressed, and at the end of his 20 hours, he ended up being able to play a few pop songs.
Just a small town girl living in a lonely world.
So step 1, he stated to deconstruct the skill. And what he means by this is breaking down the skill into its core components. So asking yourself what exactly it is that you need to figure out and be good at in order to have the skill. So the next step in Josh's framework is to learn enough to self-correct. He stated that you should get your books, get your videos, even get a course to learn this new skill, but only learn them up to a specific point where you are aware of the things that can go wrong in learning the skill. You shouldn't get consumed by trying to learn too much and trying to get too much information. You should just get enough so that you know if you're doing something wrong. easier said than done. I think a lot of us go down the rabbit hole and get hooked up into these things. Step 3 of the first 20 hours states that you should remove any barriers. And what Mr. Kaufman states is that you should remove all distractions. And in today's world, I think there's more than enough distractions for us to remove. And maybe one of the biggest reasons that we don't actually progress in skills, and we commit time to skills, but we are just so distracted and we get so easily distracted by anything and everything. And that's why he states remove these distractions. And Josh goes on to state the more barriers or roadblocks that you take out, the easier it becomes to actually develop the skill and commit these hours of intentional, focused practice. Josh's fourth step is to commit to 20 hours. He states that the biggest hurdle is usually an emotional hurdle when it comes to learning new skills. You don't want to feel silly trying to get yourself used to this new skill, or putting in the first practice and taking the first steps into developing this new skill is not always easy, and it's always something that comes with a little bit of embarrassment. And he states that 20 hours is the perfect amount of time to get over this initial awkwardness and actually get confident and get feedback from yourself to say, hey, I'm actually improving and it's going good. So he says commit 20 hours and you will get over this awkward phase of the initial learning of the skill. To conclude this video, I think that Gladwell highlights that it takes about 10,000 hours to become a master. And I think his main point with his book of the Outliers was to highlight that it takes a certain amount of hours to get good at something, and a certain amount of practice, repetition, and dedication to get to that level. And what Kaufman highlights is that there are simpler ways and simpler methods to get a skill and learn a skill, not necessarily master it, but get competent at the skill past the level of a beginner. He states that you should streamline all processes and eliminate distractions and break down all skills into its core components.